Well, I just feel so grateful today to have the opportunity to experience this gathering in what feels like a new context for me. Because, yeah, lately, Tamra and I have just been having so many deep experiences of healing with each other and being on the road and being with a lot of different hosts and doing gatherings. And lately, it started to feel like we were just having to keep becoming more and more vulnerable. And it occurred to me that that's really what this path is all about. Another way to say vulnerability would be to say defenselessness. And I noticed that today in A Course in Miracles, if you're doing the workbook lessons by the calendar, then the lesson for the day is it's the one before that. It's if I defend myself, I am attacked. And tomorrow's lesson is in my defenselessness lies my safety. And being defenseless it feels quite vulnerable. It feels quite scary. It feels like, wait a second, I don't know, this world is a pretty vicious place, and it's like a dog eat dog world out there. And if I don't protect myself, if I don't at least have my guard up to some degree, then the world is going to get me. And yet in the Course, Jesus is really saying that this world is a dream that is projected from your mind, and what you see is simply going to reflect what's happening in your unconscious mind. And that if you want to heal what's happening in the unconscious mind, which is the only way to escape from this world, to escape from the dream of separation, to escape from the feeling of being a separate person who has to kind of fend for him or herself in this world, the only way to discover that who you truly are is innocent and eternal, and that your divine reality has actually never changed at all, is, as he says in another lesson, to give up attack thoughts. And attack thoughts really means any thoughts at all that perceive the Son of God as a body. So that means if I perceive anyone as a victim or as a victimizer, then I'm still holding on to attack thoughts. If I perceive Donald Trump as having some kind of negative impact on people in the world, or a lot of deportations have been happening where families are getting broken up and people being sent back to their country. And if I perceive that as being in any way an attack upon people, then Jesus is really saying that is an attack thought. To perceive it that way, to perceive anyone as being able to be attacked and vulnerable to attack is an attack thought in and of itself. And so it's quite a turnaround to start to go, okay, I'm holding on to attack thoughts anytime that I perceive the Son of God, which is everyone or anyone, as a body, and that they need to be protected in some way. In our community, we sometimes we use the word protectionism, that anytime that we get tense about anything, whether it's about, a project that we're working on, maybe we've worked really hard for weeks or even months or even years on a project, maybe like building a beautiful new website to share even these kind of deep teachings, and suddenly we get afraid because the website has some kind of a virus, and all those years of hard work might get flushed down the drain. Then then we're really buying into the ego's thought system that says that things in this world need to be protected. I remember David years ago would talk about, and I went through a lot of his old writings, and he was doing some writings about back when there was the Course in Miracles lawsuits going on, the whole controversy about who owned the rights to the words of A Course in Miracles. And you know, he was traveling around the country at the time, and people would come up to him at the gatherings and say, what do you think about this whole copyright controversy? Whose side are you on? And he would just, you know, look at them and say, whose side are you on? I mean, what book have you been reading? You know, if you think that there's sides to it, then really that in and of itself is an attack thought that's in need of healing. And then he would also say that, well, the words of A Course in Miracles really don't need defending. And so both sides, anyone who perceives themselves on being on the side of the words of A Course in Miracles need to be protected, or the other side of the words need to be freed. They need to be freed up, and so that anybody can have access to the words and even change the words or do whatever they want with the words. The words of A Course in Miracles really don't matter at all. It's what they point to. It's what's in the mind. Even the words aren't actually helping us, because nothing in form can truly cause our mind to change, or cause our mind to heal, or cause our mind to be harmed. Everything that happens to us is a decision that's based on a deep desire. And so it really is such a deep lesson that he's trying to help us accept, which is that the Son of God needs no defense. You don't need to protect yourself. Even in, I think it's lesson 135, sickness is a defense against the truth. And maybe even in the lesson that's happening tomorrow in the calendar day, he actually says some very startling lines about how the body needs no protection, no special medicine. It doesn't need any special care or concern at all. And it will operate flawlessly if you simply stop using it for purposes for which it wasn't made, which is the ego's purposes of pride and pleasure and attack. And the Holy Spirit only has one use for the body, which is communication. So all we're really asked to do is say, okay, I'm willing to be a communication device for you, Spirit. And I'm going to trust you. I'm going to practice letting go of my own agendas and say, I don't want to try to decide what's best for me anymore. I want to be willing to be vulnerable. I want to be open. I want to be shown that miracles are natural, that you can take care of me, that you will take care of me, that you're actually just waiting to take care of me. You're already taking care of me, in fact. But I have these blinders on my eyes that don't let me see how loved I truly am. And I am so racked with fear that I'm constantly trying to make my own plans and make my own provisions to protect myself against the future. And yet, if this truly is a dream, as he is saying, then he says in one part, present trust is the only defense you need against having the future be painful or harmful at all. Simply practice present trust and be defenseless. That's the only way that we can really learn and actually have the miracles that this course is promising us. So Tamra and I were at a gathering, I think it was on what was it, last Saturday. And it was a huge, kind of miracle for me, but it didn't feel like a miracle in the moment. I was leading the gathering, and it was a 5-hour, it was actually like a workshop. It was like a 5-hour gathering where we had a 2-hour session, and then we had a little break, and then we had 2 or 3 more hours. I forget, it was 4 hours total. And I thought, well, I really wanted to make sure everybody was happy. that was my first, like, problem that started to take my mind down, was this thought that's been there, that I want to make sure that the people who come to the gatherings are happy, that that they get what they paid for, that they get a good metaphysical talk, or some good healing, or some good emotional release, or whatever. And so I've been, actually, on this whole tour, I've been very preoccupied with making sure that people who come to the gatherings are getting their money's worth. and I when we have a gathering that's like 4 hours long, I'm thinking, well, I got to fill up that time with some good stuff. I've got to make sure that I got some good topics to talk about, and some good stories to share, and some music. And then when it's really long, my mind starts thinking, well, I don't know if I could fill up all that time, so I better show a movie or something that can use a lot of time, that will fill up the time more. And so I was because I was going through some fear the night before this workshop on Saturday, and I was praying, I'm like, okay, Spirit, is there a movie you can tell me to show, so that I can fill up some of the time with that? And this movie came to mind. It's a Star Trek episode that David has shown, called Time's End. I don't think that's the original name for it. I think it was actually called Emissary. But David and Jason, they kind of shrunk it they edited it down to a mini movie, and they have this version with their commentary on MWGE, the Movie Watcher's Guide to Enlightenment. So I downloaded that, and I thought, I'll show that. And I didn't really know if it was inspiration or just my ego. It doesn't really matter, because it all worked out so beautifully. What happened was that I started to show the movie in the second half of this workshop. And then about maybe 20 minutes into it, maybe a half hour, I feel like it was a little less, actually, more like 20 minutes, I just started having this really bad feeling that it was just way too abstract, that David was doing a lot of commentary on it, and we had just had the first 2 hours of the gathering were very emotional, and a lot of expression, and people getting in touch with their emotions. And then I put on this very metaphysical, very abstract, movie with David's commentary, and I just started having this feeling intuitively that most people in the room were just kind of going, what is this? I don't get it. And the feeling just got stronger and stronger and stronger, but I was terrified. I thought, if I stop this movie, then what am I going to talk about? What are we going to do? And yet so I just started praying. I just said, okay, Spirit, I don't know what to do here. And the feeling that I was having, this kind of bad feeling, just kept getting stronger and stronger, like building up inside. And so finally I just said, okay, I think I need to take a leap of faith here, and just be willing to completely stop the movie and have no clue what I'm going to talk about next and what we're going to do. So I did. I hit pause, and I just asked everyone, how's everyone doing? Are you guys getting this, or is this kind of too abstract? And basically everyone in the room said, no, I'm not really into this. I'm not really getting it. It definitely feels a little too out there, and I just can't relate to it. And so, okay, I thought, that's good. I had a feeling. So we're going to go ahead and stop the movie for now. And then I just closed my eyes and went inside, and I had this very deep feeling of failure come up inside of me. Like, I'm a failure. I don't really, of myself, I really don't know how to do these gatherings. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to plan for them. And I've just, and it kind of, the first voice was this egoic, it was like this ego voice of failure saying, you've failed on this one for sure. You tried to show this movie, but but it didn't work. You definitely, you lost everybody. You failed, and now it's going to be extremely awkward, and you know, people might even want their money back at the end of the workshop. So I just sat with that for a moment as it was coming up, and then I felt inspired to just share what was coming up for me, and that was the next thing I did. I said, wow, you know, I have to tell you guys, I'm feeling like a failure right now. And but I know that I can't, I have to just allow that. I feel like I have to allow the idea that I have actually failed and then just let go and trust that that's okay. And I have to say, it felt so good because I hadn't had that. I mean, for many, this is like almost at the end of our tour. We've had so many gatherings and so many workshops that have gone really well, you know, so to speak. But there was always this feeling of pressure and feeling of I needed to do a good job underneath it. And on this one, it was like the balloon got burst. I failed, and my failure was exposed to everyone, and yet I just, after exposing it, I felt very vulnerable, and then I let go, and I really had no clue what I was going to say next. I actually had the thought, yeah, the gathering's over. I don't have anything else to say. I feel empty, and I feel clueless, and I feel a little ashamed of myself, and so forth. And it was so beautiful. Everyone just started to share their experience, and they were like, wow, I'm so grateful that you shared that. And I can relate. I couldn't relate to the movie, but I can relate to that. I can relate to that feeling that you're talking about of being a failure. And it just took, the whole gathering took this went very deep right after that, where everyone was getting in touch with these deeper emotions and feelings, and it just felt so beautiful. The gathering continued for maybe another hour until the end, and it was way better than it would have been if I had tried to stick to my plan with the movie. So yeah, I feel like something has released in me. I feel a sense of freedom, a sense of vulnerability, but it's more like, yeah, it's more like when I think that it's a vulnerability of the ego, but it's a experience of true invulnerability, where there's just a sense of, I don't need to be perfect anymore. I don't need to be a good workshop or gathering facilitator. I can just relax and let go and trust that the words will come through. So I thought I would just start with that, and then see if anyone had anything they wanted to share, or if Tamra wants to share, because she's been going through quite a lot of experiences lately as well, of just getting in touch with very deep emotions from the past, and this very raw sense of vulnerability. And I'm just so grateful and honored, actually, because she's been sharing with me things that she probably hasn't shared with many people, if anyone, and I've had the opportunity to simply hold the space and use it all to look where I'm still holding on to judgments in myself, where I'm still being defensive or controlling, or yeah, however the patterns of Erik have played out in the past, they're definitely getting exposed quite a lot. Being on this road trip and being in such close quarters with Tamra, all the time, every day. We're together pretty much 24/7. So it's been quite a speed up.
For 8.5 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a profound experience yesterday. It was, whew, and it went on to today, and there was, Erik was just triggering some things in me, and the triggers have actually, over the last few days, I could tell they were starting to come to a head. I was very just like done, like ready to throw him and his bags on the road. And last night I finally hit a point where
what were the triggers? I'm sure they want to know.
Well, things that kind of felt bullyish to me, actually, like just insisting that his way is the right way. And like grabbing the computer from me, and I can't remember what else right now, but it was similar stuff that's been in past relationships. And so there was a moment last night. He shushed me.
When did I shush you?
I was trying to just forgive you, and so I was over in the chair listening to some music, but I was all in my joy, supposedly. And I was singing it, and then you were just like, shh. Oh, and that was it. That was the straw.
I was afraid that our hosts would hear her, because she had her earphones in, and she started singing and everything. It was late at night, and I thought, no, I don't want any music.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like, Erik and I have completely different personalities like that. Like, I am very much of a butterfly and love to dance about and be loud and unedited entirely. And like, he's very edited and very like, let's like, make sure that everything's, we're two completely opposite people. That's become, so anyway, so something snapped in me, and I just started praying my ass off, is what I did, because all of a sudden I saw a pattern that's like saw that there was a movie happening, and that there was this like scene that kept reoccurring in the script over and over and over again, and it was still upsetting, and it was still causing me so much like contraction and shutdown. And I would live, like, the attack thoughts were intense, like I couldn't even handle it. He would type, and that bugged me. Like, everything he did bugged me. And so I just started praying. I just started praying, and I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. Like, show me. I am ready to see what this is about. And within a couple of minutes, maybe even less, all of a sudden I started to see this Tamra self in my marriage, actually, and with my ex-husband. And I started to I got this like montage of images of me with him, and how I was a bully, and how I was belittling, and how I felt constantly put him down, and all things that I felt like I was getting from Erik. And I was just horrified. Like, the guilt and the shame and the horror of it that came up was just, whoo, it was deep. It was so deep. I mean, at one point I couldn't even talk to him. He knew I was going through something, and then a little while later I just ended up like just sobbing with all of this guilt and shame that had been completely blocked from my awareness, because I had made up this story that I was this great wife and a really wonderful person to my ex-husband, and it was like I saw this whole other story that had been just blocked from my awareness because of the guilt and the shame around it. And so I just had to let it come up and just get really vulnerable with him. And I told him a little bit last night, and I told him more this morning. And yeah, it didn't feel good initially to actually let all this up into my awareness, because it had been so blocked. I covered it with such this story, and I remembered this morning, and I told him, I said, when my therapist used to tell me that we're all rotten to the core, like the personality self is rotten to the core, and that we do not want to see that, because we're just, the face of innocence is so strong. But I realized today, as I was just letting it all up, and I was letting it up until about 3 hours ago. Actually, I thought I might not be at this gathering tonight, because it was just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. But I saw the value in actually just being with it, and just not pushing it away, and not trying to scramble to get out of it, or even, use, because I joined with him this morning. I'm like, do I pray for a miracle? Do I just sit with it? Do I just be with it? And it felt really vulnerable to just be with it. But there was such value. There was a point at some time today where it was just like, I kind of just popped out of it, with just after this full allowance of just like, none of that is true. Like, this story of my guilt and my shame is not true, but as long as it was hidden from my awareness, it's still running the show. And so it had to come up. And that's why he's like, the entire time we've been on this tour, like, he's just been triggering it every day, this thing that's been blocked from my awareness. So once again, I just feel incredibly grateful and incredibly clear that the projection that the Course talks about is a very real thing, that like, it's all me. And I just don't want to see that. I just don't want to face it. So I just project it out, and I project it out until it becomes so painful that I'm finally willing to say, and I find this incredibly helpful, to say, Spirit, I cannot see this. All I know is right now, the other is the problem. Like, that feels so real, that the other is the problem. But I'm willing to see that that can't be, because you've told me in 1,100 pages that can't be. But show me, because it's out of my awareness. That's why I can't see it. And it feels like every time I do that, when I get to that point of just willingness really to see it, I mean, I was shocked at how quickly it turned last night. It was like, whoa, it's like Spirit just showed me this story that was way deep in my mind. I mean, my ex and I have been apart for over 5 years, 6 years now. And yeah, there's been other deep stuff that's happened. Just the other day, we had something he triggered, and then all of a sudden it was about another ex-boyfriend, and it's just, yeah, it's been really intense. And really amazing and very healing. And I just am, I mean, I'm sure we all have these moments where you're just like, I don't understand that Course at all. It's been a lot of those moments, like, oh, that's what it means. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, like it's all just theory until some really deep healing begins to occur, where, oh yeah, now I get what he means by projection. Now I see what he means by the guilt and the face of innocence, and
bringing the darkness to the light.
Yeah. And how we can't fix ourselves. We can't get out of it. Like, when I love the metaphor of those Chinese finger traps. You know, those Chinese finger traps where you put it on your fingers, and then if you try to pull out, it'll just get tight, and it won't. You'll be stuck. The only way to get out is actually to kind of relax and almost even go push into it a little bit so it loosens, and then to slowly pull out. But you can't go out too fast. And I kind of feel like that's the ego. That the ego is like a Chinese finger trap. And whenever you feel like you're caught in the grip of an ego attack or a lot of dark emotions coming up, if you just that's always what happens initially, is we go, oh shit, I don't like how I feel, I've got to get out of this. And we start scrambling, our mind starts scrambling for a technique to get out of it, or whether it's a technique that involves some kind of magic and form, like go and eat something, or go for a walk, or go call someone. We look for something to do that will help us get out of it and feel better, or even some kind of mental technique that that seems to work. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do my mantra, or I'm gonna journal. And sometimes those things actually do seem to work, because the Holy Spirit will it knows that we want to get out, we want to go, but also the Holy Spirit knows the only way out really is through. It's like you have to go through it. You can't just avoid the darkness and whatever these, like she was having these deep memories coming up from past relationships, and the Holy Spirit was kind of saying, yeah, I know these memories are painful, but I want to show you them in a new light. And so we've got to lift these old memories up, these traumatic memories or these memories that still have guilt attached to them, so that I can show them to you with my interpretation, to show you how you were misperceiving back then, but then ultimately, which can seem to, we don't want to look at that, because it feels like we're going to feel more guilty then. If we really look at these painful past memories, it feels like, well, I'm just going to feel worse if I do that. I remember one time at the monastery, we were having an expression session, and this one guy said, I've been here like a few weeks and doing these expression sessions, and I thought I'd be feeling better, but I'm just feeling worse. I'm feeling worse and worse, and what the hell is going on? I thought this was supposed to help me. I thought this was supposed to make me feel better. And I said to him, no, it does usually seem to feel worse before it feels better. Because you've got to first get in touch with this deep unconscious guilt. You've got to go down in the mind, or you've got to at least be willing to look at what's down there. You don't really have to go searching for it. You don't have to go on some kind of a witch hunt, but you do need to let those dark feelings come up, and those dark memories even, and you've got to just hang on with, grab the Holy Spirit's hand, so to speak, or Jesus's hand, and just hang on and say, okay, this is scaring me. I don't like how this feels, but I know that I'm probably not going to get better until I've actually been willing to face some of these darker memories in the unconscious mind. And he will reinterpret them. He'll show us to them, but then it doesn't end there. It doesn't end with all the pain. It ends with, oh, that was who I thought I was, and that's who I thought I was, and I've been taking that story pretty damn seriously my whole life. And in fact, it's been running the show. These unconscious stories have just been like a program, like a virus in my mind that's just been keeping me from being able to follow my heart fully. And once they're exposed, once we see what's underneath all the yuck, then it dissolves. It ceases to have power over us. And that's where it's all headed, ultimately, to seeing the original belief in separation. It's all heading back to, it's like all these traumatic memories that seem to have occurred in our personal history are all symbolic of this ancient, we could say, this ancient hatred of when we thought we actually pulled off the impossible and separated from our Creator and declared ourselves as the ruler of the universe, as I've usurped God, and now I'm gonna be God. I'm gonna make up my own world, and I'm gonna create myself as I wish to be, and F you for not giving me that. I'm gonna do it my way now. And that's what's really at the bottom of all the crud, of all the hatred, of all the guilt that is in our mind. So it seems like it's pretty heavy duty stuff, but I feel grateful to be able to share with you that it really does work, that as we sink in and we hold hands with each other, and we just keep being willing to join with mighty companions who are on the path with us, and to keep being willing to expose the unconscious guilt whenever it comes up to the Holy Spirit, and if it's given to a mighty companion who can hold the space for us, then we do move through it. It does actually work, and there's a release. I mean, my mind feels completely different now than it did last Saturday after that experience I shared, where it's like I went through some kind of a wormhole in my mind and I was kind of forced through it. You know, that's usually how it works. It's like the universe seems to sort of force us through it, but it's all by our desire. It's all because we're deep down, we're saying, I want to wake up. I want to go through the wormhole. I don't want to just stay on the surface and be constantly thinking I have to manage my life and manage my awakening. It's so heavy. It can be so heavy when we're managing. And he says, resign now as your own teacher. Resign now as your own life manager. Resign now as everything, every role that you're playing in your life, whether it's a mother, a father, a sister, a spouse, a worker, a boss. Every role that you're playing is going to feel heavy, heavy, heavy if you think that you personally need to manage it and be responsible for it. You don't. He's over and over in the Course, I think he says 3 times the statement, accepting the atonement is the sole responsibility of the miracle worker. And I got to tell you that what it really has worked for me as I took that to heart, and I said, I'm going to really practice that. I'm going to practice putting my full heart into accepting the atonement for myself, which means just applying the ideas of the Course, listening to the Spirit as best I can, getting in touch with my intuition, noticing when I have grievances, handing them over, just the inner work, all the inner work of this entails. If I put my sole attention on that, then everything else will work itself out. All the other roles we will be unwound from, and in a way that is actually integrous, of integrity and graceful. It always feels like we're going to be kind of leaving behind a trail of tears, or other people who won't be able to come with us. I remember my family, my dad. My dad was the main one. He was always kind of saying, you know, where is this all leading, Erik? And how come you're not coming home for all these family reunions anymore? And it was just, I just started to notice that I was being guided to spend my time meditating, or going to the monastery, or traveling, or really I just felt called to start spending more and more time either alone or with those who were you know, vibrationally connected to, who were witnessing for me to this deep purpose. And ultimately, everyone, I would say that in the state of enlightenment, everyone is the same. We don't see distinctions between kind of like mighty companions versus old friends and family. But while we're still going through the awakening, it does seem like we will start to feel guided to spend more and more time connecting with those who support our awakening, and who are reflecting to us these ideas, and practicing forgiveness, because those people will trigger us just as much, if not more, than everyone else. And Jesus is in control of the whole plan. So yeah, trying to be in charge and decide how our awakening will look is just a painful way to go. We've got to give it over and say, I retire. I'm retiring from this job of being my own awakener, and you be in charge, Spirit. You be the one to tell me how to spend my days, where to go, what to do, and you can bring all your concerns to him. You can say, this is where I believe I have a job. I believe these are the responsibilities I think I have. I have to take care of maybe these children, or I have to take care of my spouse, or I have to take care of my mother or father, or my job. I've got a lot of debts. I've got to make money to pay off my debts, and I've got a mortgage. And I was pretty wound into quite a lot of different things as well. But when I said, okay, I just started giving that all to the Spirit, just saying, okay, I don't know how I'm going to be, I can't just rip myself out of all those obligations in the world, those seeming responsibilities. I need to be unwound from them. And so I'm gonna really try this out. I'm really gonna put this course to the test and be willing to be shown that there is another way. So I thought we can open it up. We have a couple songs to play too, but yeah, Tamra just wrote a new song, and we're gonna share this. It won't be the debut performance, but almost. I think we've only shared it for like one or two other people now. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. So yeah, maybe we'll actually share it first, and then we'll open it up and see if anyone has any questions or comments or anything that feels helpful to bring up, and then we can offer it all over to Spirit and trust that the healing is in the exposure. So do you want to share it all about this song?
I don't know if you guys have seen the movie I Am David. It's one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen about this little boy who's being guided out of a prison camp, a life in a prison camp, basically back to his mother. He doesn't know that, but he's basically he's guided back to love, and he's being asked to do some things that are way outside of his comfort zone, and some very, very scary things for a little boy. And there's this one scene where he says to the kind of Holy Spirit character who's giving him all of his next steps, he says, "But I don't even know who I am." And I was watching that movie a couple months ago with Donna and in Petaluma, and it's just, I was like, period, full stop. Like, that's such a powerful sentence. And before that moment, my mind always thought that I had to actually go further. And then all of a sudden I realized that that actually is the most honest thing I could say. And that from there, you know, that it's like the topic of this gathering, like that is the most vulnerable thing I can say. And then I cease to speak, because then that's getting out all of the things that I think I am or that I've thought I am. You know, I am a person, I am a woman, I am a girlfriend, I am an ex-wife, I am a daughter. And so there's just so much power in the statement, but I don't even know who I am. And so the chorus to this song came in first, and then the verses actually seem to be unraveling along with my kind of like huge moments of awakening on this tour. So yeah, it's a cool song.
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah,
you all
it is.
enjoy
It's
it.
a very cool song. And we just finished it, was it 2 days ago? Or
Yeah, last Saturday morning.
So we're still going to we have to read the lyrics still for some of it. There's a dark lens I've been looking through. Veil so thick it's been hiding the truth. It's a mask that's been covering who I really am. A face of deception I can no longer stand. But there's a light deep within me that I cannot see, saying open your eyes and come back to me. But I don't even know who I am, yet I'm willing to let the light in. I need you to teach me. I know you can reach me. Show me who I've always been. There's a sweet truth that's calling me to a place in my mind that I cannot perceive, where the roles I've been playing that I still think are me will all fall away so that I can be free. There's a voice of a child that's deep in my heart saying come home, come home, come back to the start. But I don't even know who I am, yet I'm willing to let the light in. I need you to teach me. I know you can reach me. Show me who I've always been. There is no way this world can be true. There is nothing that can hide me from you. There's no lie outside the truth. And I just wanna go home, back home to you. I don't even know who I am, yet I'm willing to let the light in. I need you to teach me. I know you can reach me. Show me who I've always been. But I don't even know who I am, yet I'm willing to let the light in. I need you to teach me. I know you can reach me. Show me who I've always been. It's good to see you all. Feel the love.
Open it up.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we can open it up, if anyone wants to say anything, just raise your hand, or okay, Raphael. Hello. Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. That was so beautiful. Sharing the music. Thank you very much for your courage, your devotion, your willingness. It's so inspiring. It's very beautiful. Very beautiful. I wanted to share that today I am feeling a lot of body thoughts elevated to the mind, like I'm congested, my body aches, have been like this 2 days, and I cannot attach it to any story that I can forgive. So for me, it's easier to forgive a specific story, a specific ego attack, when I can see a guilt trip or, you know, a hidden body starts aching and giving me hard time. You know, I remember that lesson, sickness is a defense against the truth. And I know in that lesson, you know, Jesus says very clearly, you make a conscious choice to get sick, and then you quickly repress it so you can, you know, focus on an external factor, right?
Right.
So then, you know, I say, okay, well, this is for me, my training, because these past few days I've had a lot of beautiful lessons of trust and of patience. Starting last week, we had so many beautiful sharings, Astrid and I, with the kids, with Michael. Very beautiful. But then coming Sunday, you know, it was a completely switching energy, complete shift. And I see myself coming down to the battlefield and being inundated by seemingly small, you know, like meaningless attack thoughts, though. They are attack thoughts. And you know that they say that it doesn't matter the magnitude of the attack thought, it's like a desire to kill, right? But I can rationalize it, and those I can forgive. But when I get the body and I started feeling all kinds of pains and my energy gets low, then I start rationalizing, well, you know, I need help organizing the work day, the load, the workload, you know, the chores, and then it becomes an attack again, you know. So, you know, these lessons of trust and of patience all of a sudden get in a sticky kind of like terrain that it's very hard for me to lift myself above the battle ground and then look at it from the top and just give it up to the Holy Spirit. So that's my prayer today. I hope that by exposing it and the guilt and the shame I feel for not being a good mirror and a good, a strong, holy companion, a mighty companion, you know, like I feel I fail, like you said, you know, we're saying that, you know, that you feel like a failure. So in those moments, I feel I'm failing all my mighty companions. The one that I have in front of me, but she's just a symbol of everybody, right? And then I realized that there's nobody out there, it's only me. All of you guys are beautiful reflections of my thoughts, but that's intellectual, like you were saying before, and I'm not there experiencing that yet, you know, that I'm in this movie and this dream, and that nothing else is real because it's just, you know, that event that happened after I forgot how to laugh. I forgot to laugh after the thought separation. But so that I understand intellectually, but I haven't experienced that. So I get confused in the levels, and it hits me really hard when it's the body, and I resort to magic, acupuncture, drinking tea, sage tea. You know, I know it's magic, but it makes me feel better, supposedly. And then, you know, how to really drill down to the unconscious mind and elevate it. Do you have any thoughts about this? Can you say anything about this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's very involuntary. I feel that we just cannot be in charge of it, which is the hardest thing. We want so badly to be able to kind of do it ourselves. Like, okay, I'm in a rut. I need to get myself out of the rut. And over and over and over in lots of different ways, Jesus is saying, resign as your own teacher. Just trust me. Another part I like is he says, you cannot wake yourself, yet you can let yourself be wakened. And so it's just so humbling. He's saying, like, you just have no idea really what's happening with you. You're experiencing these emotions on the surface. He's saying to all of us, you know, you've got all these issues that seem to be on the surface, but there's a much deeper problem, and I'm working with your mind on it. I'm working in your mind, and I'm working with your mind, and all you've got to do is just relax and allow the emotions to come up. And yes, I know it will feel kind of debilitating at times. I often have this metaphor come to mind of being on like a surgery table. Like, I'm in the Holy Spirit's hospital, lying on the surgery table, and he's doing like a lobotomy on my mind. He's trying to like kind of carve out all the little ego layers so that my mind can just be pure and shiny, but I have all these layers, and every time that I try to get myself out of the darkness, it's kind of like reaching up and grabbing the scalpel out of the Holy Spirit's hand and saying, no, I will do my own lobotomy. I will do it. Even though we can't see what he sees. We cannot see. He's got the overview, and to try to do our own lobotomy would just be, you know,
bloody mess.
That wouldn't be a good idea. So yeah, I think it just takes a lot of, I mean, I have these periods as well, like you, where I just feel like I'm back on the battlefield, and I have no idea how to get out of it, and I'm just there. I'm just feeling all this crud coming up. I'm feeling all this control. I feel depressed sometimes. I go through these periods. We were talking today about manic depressiveness, because I sometimes, throughout my life, I've often felt like I do seem to swing back and forth between these phases where I'm like days where I feel really alive and inspired, and I'm having all this creativity flow through me. It feels a little manic sometimes. And even Tamra told me today, she said, yeah, sometimes you have like crazy eyes when you're like that. Like, you look a little manic, you know. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this. Oh, write this down, I got an idea. You're like a mad scientist or something, but it feels, you know, amazing. And then I'll have other days where it's exactly the opposite, and I'm just in the dump, completely depressed, completely dead, no inspiration. I couldn't buy inspiration, you know. I could, nothing is, and I've found that all I can do is just, when I'm in that state, I mean, I still try to get out of it, but it doesn't really help usually. It's only by my willingness. I've discovered that it's only my willingness to actually get in touch with what's the fear underneath it that seems to help. If I just actually, if I say to myself, I've got to get out of this depression, I don't like the way it feels, and if I stay depressed, then I'm going to be dysfunctional, then trying to get out of it because of that motivation doesn't seem to actually help. It just kind of, it keeps me rooted in it. But But the only thing that does seem to help is when I go, well, okay, I'm depressed. What's wrong with feeling depressed? Well, I'm afraid that I won't be able to get out of bed, and I won't be able to go do the things I need to do, and I'm afraid that other people will just start to look at me and go, wow, Erik is just, he had so much promise, and now he's clinically depressed, and what a sad story.
What a sad sap.
Yeah, he's had such promise. And so all these fears, I actually just need to face the fears of what it will mean if I'm unable to become undepressed. So so I think that's really the key, is we can't get ourselves out of it. We can't grab the scalpel and do our own lobotomy. We just have to say, okay, Spirit, I feel like crap right now. But I know you're working on me. I mean, the Holy Spirit's working 24/7. He doesn't take a break. He doesn't go on a lunch break and like leave us on the table and leave us like squirming or anything. He's always working with us, always. So my job is just to relax and to say, okay, I know he's working on me and I feel like crap, but I'm still going to try to get out of it, because I can't even really help myself. I'm so addicted. I'm in such pain that, you know, I'm gonna, and the Holy Spirit knows that. He's like, yeah, I know you're gonna try to get out of it. You're gonna try to grab the scalpel. I know you're gonna do everything you can to try to get out of this, but the only thing that's gonna get out is by you trusting me. And then I'm gonna take you through the wormhole in your mind. I'm gonna take you down to the cause of this upset. I'm going to take you down to the cause of this depression. You can't just fix it on the surface. You've got to, only I can take you down through the cause in your mind, and then you'll have a pop. You'll have a miracle. You'll have a moment of, oh, wow, and you'll feel the energy rush in again, the joy. So that's what I would say. I would just share that, you know, it's yeah.
Yeah, I find it really helpful to see to notice where I'm placing something as an idol in front of my peace of mind, and usually wanting to feel different, wanting to be having different thoughts, wanting to be anything that I want different than it is right now is the idol I'm placing in front of my peace of mind. And it's so tricky. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's very counterintuitive, actually. It's like, but it's logical to not want to feel bad. It's like, but my not wanting to feel bad is actually what's keeping me from having peace.
Yeah.
The minute you surrender, like you said, like, so I'm just going to be depressed. I'm going to go fully in, like, so what?
I'm just going to allow my attack thoughts or whatever it is, just allow them to come up and trust that I'm going. It's like going through a storm. It's like going through the storm, like almost like meteors are coming up. We're just like attack thoughts just flying everywhere, and we're being guided to just relax, and we're being carried by the Spirit through the storm. But we can't just kind of get out of it ourselves. We've just got to hang in there. I always just say, hang in there. It's okay. Everything will be okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you hear me, because I don't have the microphone, but
I hear you.
Are you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's been really helpful. Both of you. The getting the idol and also the lobotomy. Oh my God, man! That's the greatest image or metaphor I've seen for this process. Just let it all hang out and like you say, Tamra, connect with the feeling behind it and not try to get rid of it. You know, just see it and look at the attack thoughts. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So
I love you.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Hey, I saw Laura. I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question related to that. I had decided earlier that I was going to take a course, And now I'm having doubt thoughts about taking the course. But how do I know the difference between being guided and when I'm trying to find a fix? And then I can feel the fear of doing something wrong come up, making the wrong decision. And then I also feel like, does it really matter why I'm doing it as long as I ultimately use the course for healing anyway? But I don't want to know the answer to my question.
Yeah, I think that's like the number one question. How do you discern the ego's guidance from the spirit's guidance? How do I know that what I'm doing is actually guided? How do I know if I should take choice A or choice B or choice C? And I think that it just takes a lot of unwinding from the ego to be able to get, it does start to get clearer, but there's so much unwinding, there's so many layers. The ego is so tricky that all we can do is be willing, is just say, okay, Spirit, I don't know which choice to make here. And, and I know that I'm probably not going to be able to hear you very clearly because I'm just so deep in this dream, but I am willing. I'm willing to look at my motivations here. And I think that's where Jesus says at one point, that one of the most valuable questions you can ask is, what is it for? And then if you just ask yourself that question in relation to any decisions in the world, then you don't have to even kind of beat yourself up over them, but just to start to get honest. Well, I want a better body, or I want a bigger bank account, or I want to be financially free, or I want to have these skills so that I can, just starting to get conscious of all the motivations for why we're doing something. That's really what all the mind training is for. That's the only thing we really can do. Jesus says that you don't even really have control over what your body does. You don't even really have the choice about whether to go to Burger King for lunch or McDonald's for lunch or stay home and be vegan. You don't even have that choice. You have the illusion of choice. You think that you're a person on the surface who has this plethora of choices. But the only choice you really have is whether you're willing to look at your mind and let the Holy Spirit heal you, or whether you're gonna, pretend like you actually have choices in the world, and then make them without even being willing to pray or ask for guidance. So I think the fact that you're willing to even ask is all you can do. That you don't really have to worry about getting the right answer, because it really doesn't matter that much. Like the choices that we make in the world, they're all scripted out. And even if we seem to make the wrong choice, so to speak, if we seem to choose with the ego, the Spirit will just kind of redirect us back. And we'll feel it. We'll start to, if we make a choice with the ego and it's a compromise, like let's say someone invites us to a party and inside we're thinking, well, I really don't want to go to that party. I don't like parties that much. I really would prefer to stay home and read my Course in Miracle book. then we might feel a sense of obligation, like, well, that person is my friend and I'm supposed to be nice. And so let's say we just go to the party. We just go, well, I just don't want to have to face the guilt of feeling like a terrible friend. So I'm just going to go to the party and I'll just deal with it. And so we go to the party and we feel really cruddy because we know we've compromised. But even then, like, all things work together for good. The Spirit will just use whatever decisions we seem to make to show us deeper layers in our mind. It may be the Spirit just going, no, that's okay. Now you know you compromised, as long as you're aware that there's some kind of a fear underneath, that there's a sense of obligation that you have towards this role as being a good friend, then, and you can see that it's causing you pain. Even the mistakes that we seem to make are helpful, because they're showing us how it feels. They're showing us the contrast. They're showing us how we feel when we compromise and when we kind of obey these ego rules versus just facing the guilt. And the Spirit will redirect us if we really need to be redirected. It's like the GPS metaphor. He'll always, he doesn't just go out to lunch and say, oh, well, you screwed up. Your brain is, I'm done with this lobotomy process. I'm going out for some good food here in heaven. No, maybe I'll come back if I decide to forgive you. No, he's always there, just loving us completely and saying, okay, I see that you're afraid there, but that's okay. I'm working with your mind, and I'll redirect you. So I wouldn't get too preoccupied with, it does feel like when it's really big decisions in our life, which it feels like this one probably feels like a big decision to you, then of course it's natural. We want to do the right thing. We want to follow the guidance. And so sometimes joining with other people, like, you could call us perhaps tomorrow and we could go into it a little more and look at some of the things, but it's really just get in touch with what's underneath the motivations. Maybe look at all the pros and cons associated with making decision A versus decision B. Just get conscious of it all, and then you'll kind of feel intuitively which way seems like the natural, most effortless, most guided and inspired choice. But yeah, we don't want to get into analysis paralysis. It's really just being aware, just being willing to look and become more conscious.
Yeah, I've learned a lot on this tour. I think one of the most valuable things that I will take out of this last 2 months has been just that deepening of trust. And I mean, I heard David say probably 1,000 times, like, make it obvious, make it obvious. And I didn't know that was a real thing, actually, until I was in this experience where it seemed to be like we have so many choice decisions to make a day. Oh my God. And it started to feel so heavy and intense because I felt like I had to be like so tuned in or we would mess it up. And so I just started just go, Spirit, I don't know what to do. You handle it and make it really obvious. Like, you got it? And oh my God, I've been just shocked over and over and over again, like literally, like right after I'll say that prayer, something so obvious will come in. And that's just deepening my trust more and more and more that I actually can just say that. Because before, I think I was really afraid to just say that then I'd have to be on the lookout, and there was still me that was under this pressure to make sure that I saw the obvious sign. Now it's like, oh no, when it's obvious, it's obvious. Like, Spirit doesn't mess around. Like, it's so obvious, you'd have to be totally asleep and out of your mind and not see it, So yeah, it's just deepening in the trust, because we still just believe like, I've got to handle this, I've got to manage this. And for me, it's just been about facing the fears underneath, like, can I really just let go? Even the ego can really take hold of that role of good Course in Miracles student, or a good follower. Good follower. A good guidance follower. The guidance well. Like trying to be almost like being perfectionistic with the guidance. Like, I need to get the guidance right. And actually today I had an experience of that where I was driving. We were coming to this hotel room, but we didn't know yet where we were going to sleep tonight, and we didn't have any invitations today. We didn't know anyone. But then I did think of these friends, these family friends I have who live
not too far from here, maybe a half an hour from here. And I thought, oh, maybe we're supposed to stay with them. And, you know, then we could save a little money. We wouldn't have to pay for a hotel room. So at first, when the thought came in, I thought, well, I don't know if I really want to actually stay with them. It would be nice just to have a hotel room to ourselves without being in a house with other people that we have to kind of feel obligated to in any way to connect with, because that stuff comes up all the time. I thought maybe we do want to stay in a hotel, but it's going to cost us money to stay in a hotel, and maybe the Spirit wants us to stay with them because maybe it's going to be this holy encounter. I don't know. Jesus, can you just, what are we supposed to do? And so finally I had a thought, well, I'll just call her. I want it to be obvious. I'll just call my friend and see if maybe we can stay with her family. So I called her and she didn't pick up. I just left a message. I just told her the whole situation. We're driving through and thought maybe we could stay, but I don't know, let me know. And just left a message. And then I was driving and we were coming to the point where I would have to turn right if I was going to go to her family's house, and I would have to turn left if I was going to keep going to find a hotel in the city that we're in, Augusta, Maine. We're in Augusta, Maine. And and so I thought that would be really cool if she called me like right before I got to the juncture point, and then it would be like, yes, please come. We'd love to host you. And I thought that would be so cool if that happened right before the juncture point, and then I would turn right and we'd be like, woohoo!
We have a miracle story.
Like a miracle. Well, I got to the juncture point and she hadn't called.
The miracle story. That's obvious.
So I just thought, well, okay, I guess we're going left, because I guess we're going to the hotel then. And then I was like, well, actually, I guess that's really deep down. That is what I felt like I wanted, and so I guess we'll just do that. And then I thought, well, even if she calls me now, we could always go back if it's really meant to be. But she never called, so so it was obvious. But you can see there are all the gyrations. I had all these thought gyrations of weighing the pros and cons, and I really had to look at some of the things underneath my question too, which, you know, the thing around money, like, okay, Spirit, I believe it's better to stay somewhere where we don't have to spend money. But even that, I saw that's a block. If I think that staying somewhere where I don't have to pay is better than staying somewhere where I do have to pay, then that will get in the way of the guidance. If the guidance is for me to go somewhere where I have to pay, then I'm not going to be willing to hear that guidance if I have a strong belief that I shouldn't have to pay. So I looked at that. I thought, okay, I need to let that go. I need to let go of, I was like, we've got to find a place with good Wi-Fi, because we're going to be doing this online gathering, so we've got to have good Wi-Fi. And then I thought, well, maybe we don't. Maybe there's some other way. And then I heard Spirit say, well, even if you don't have good Wi-Fi, you can use your data on your phone and it'll probably work fine. And I just thought, oh, okay. Yeah, I really have to look at all of my kind of rules for how I think things are supposed to go. And that's my only job. So that's really it. If I am willing to keep looking at all the rules in my mind and all the judgments and all the shoulds and just all the opinions and preferences, then that is the inner work, and the guidance I'll do whatever I do. It's like that St. Augustine quote, love and do what you will. So we could say forgive or look within and then do what you will. As long as you're willing to keep looking within, then everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out.
And I am definitely willing, so.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Laura. Good to see you.
Yeah. I love you guys so much.
Love you too.
Oh, so glad we can connect this way.
No? Anyone else have their hand up? John. Hey, John.
Hi, John.
Hey guys, I got nothing, but I just want to say I love you guys. And I just heard this little voice in my head going, John, 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 say something. I love you guys. That's what I got. Yeah, that's it. No more.
Thank you. Love you too. So much love.
What does that chat say?
Let me see. Oh, yes. Esther's saying, can you put in the chat the link to donate? Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Esther. I will. At the very end.
Yeah, we've noticed, or I've noticed, seems to be the most common theme from all the people that we've met, and is just how hard we are on ourselves. Just how the ego mind is always trying to make it like not even just that something's going wrong, but that I'm doing something wrong and that I need to do something different, or I should be doing something different. And I'm just really starting to realize that the healing is just undoing that. Undoing that belief that I'm getting it wrong, or that there is even a way to get it right. Yeah, it just feels so comforting and gentle and loving just to know that I'm doing my best and that's good enough. You know, I got it. We did a letter to God in our workshop the other day, and I was going to start journaling, and I realized I didn't have a pen, and so I had to make it very concise. And what I wanted to ask from God and what came through was that I want to know that I'm loved no matter what. And it was such a deep connection to just a prayer of my heart to just know that I'm loved no matter what, and that my best is good enough. You know, it just feels so deep to actually just let myself just sink into that. It's just feels so joyful to actually just know that my best is good enough and that I'm loved no matter what, and I don't have to try so hard.
Yeah. More like the opposite. Like we need to actually try less. like let go and just
let go.
Stop trying to be better. Even trying to be better at forgiveness can be a block. It's just all we can do is be willing. It's all we can do. There's nothing that we need to do for salvation. It's just an acceptance that it's already given. Atonement is already our birthright. It's already inside us. And it's inevitable. It's already, everything is always unfolding for my awareness to recognize that. I couldn't mess it up if I tried, in other words. I really couldn't mess it up. I would actually even kind of suggest that. Like, I suggest you actually try to mess it up. Try to mess up your life. Try to mess up your spiritual awakening. Just try it. Don't try to be so perfect anymore. Just be an asshole. Just be okay with be an ego. Just notice your ego coming up and just be the ego. Just be it. it's like the Chinese finger trap. Like you're not going to be able to pull yourself out of it. So you just have to just go, okay, I'm an ego. At least I think I'm an ego. My ego is in control right now, and I'm not going to fight with it. He says, do not fight yourself a couple times. It just makes it worse. It's like the ego fighting the ego. You've just, like the Chinese finger trap, you've just got to kind of go in. You got to go towards it a little bit. It's okay. Got some shit coming up here.
John.
All right. I don't know. This keeps on coming to me, so I'm just going to bring it on up. I think it's kind of I don't know if there's what the real value of this story is, but a few nights ago, I've been feeling kind of crappy, just physically, just going through some stuff. And I'm sitting in my living room, and it's, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And this lot that I live on, it's about, the houses are a few hundred feet apart from each other. And my neighbor's motion detector light comes on almost regularly, just about every night, and it goes off and it'll come back on. And it usually doesn't bother me, but this night I decided it was going to bother me. I mean, I just couldn't let it go. I don't even know why. And I went up and I went to, I go to bed, and I can't even see it from my bedroom. But it's still bothering me because I can just see a little bit of reflection of light in the tree every once in a while go on. And I'm like, does this mean I got to go talk to Mark? Mark's my neighbor. And I remembered a story that he had told me years ago about a buddy of his who had a neighbor in this area here where I live that was building a place that they didn't like. It was just, they put a trailer on there, and they didn't like that because, they wanted to have a nicer house near them as a neighbor. And he said this, he said something about how his buddy had positioned all the outdoor lights in his house so they shine directly on where this guy lived. So that's kind of like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, geez, did I make Mark mad? Is he pissed at me? And then I'm starting to get pissed at Mark. I mean, I'm like working myself into this, going, yeah, well, I don't have cars laying around my place, and I don't have this, and I had that moment where I went, wait a second, I'm the asshole. I mean, not that there really is one, but I'm looking at this, and all he's doing is he's got a motion detector light that's going on for whatever reason, and I'm creating all these stories around it. And even though I was aware of it, I still couldn't let go of that anger. I felt it, and I went, oh wow, look at this. And I knew it had nothing to do with what was going on there. It was my ego just going, look, you can't even do this right? You're getting so angry about something, you're getting angry about something that doesn't matter, and you can't stop yourself. Wow, you suck at this. Or you're really good at it, whichever your perspective is.
Yeah.
And I really had a hard time letting go of that. And it didn't mean anything. And I don't know if this has any relationship to it or not, but I went to bed that night and I had the weirdest freaking dream. One of these dreams where it's like you're not really dreaming, like you're kind of awake in the dream. And there was an old girlfriend there and a bunch of other people, and I had done something in the dream, and I don't know what it was. I mean, it just felt like I either hurt somebody or I killed somebody or whatever, and they were going to kill me for this. Right? Here's my own little whatever. And then keep in mind, I'm sick. I'm having these little fever type dreams. And I'm going, what is this all about? And during this dream, they're literally trying to kill me, stabbing me or something. And I'm like, I wish I would just die in the dream, because then I'll be done, right? I will be done with this. I couldn't die in the dream. I actually even tried to physically, in the dream, kill myself in the dream. Knife, right there. I mean, I literally felt it going through here, through the palate, into the brain. Nope, I wouldn't die. All right, well, I'm thinking to myself, I gotta be bleeding out by now, so I'll run. That'll get me going, and the blood will exsanguinate, and I'm done. Nope, I couldn't die in the dream. That freaked me out so much. I mean, it took me days to kind of like get over that. I mean, I see the parallel, and I really feel funky about sharing this. I don't know why, because it is such a perfect story, right? You can't die anyways. But I just thought, holy shit, come on, Spirit, what does this mean? What am I supposed to learn from it? I don't even know if I've got that answer, but it felt like I'm supposed to share it somewhere, and I guess this is where I'm sharing it. I don't know if this means anything to anybody else, or if it's just me rambling on about a dream. But it was wild. That's all I can tell you guys. It was just such a wild, I don't know. I'm still looking for the answer to the lesson, but I feel lighter. I feel better. I don't know what I was supposed to learn from it, but it was freaky, guys. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. Very strange thing.
It was reminding me of Groundhog Day, when he's trying to kill himself over and over, and it doesn't work that way.
No, it was just amazing. I had that same thought too, like Groundhog Day. I was like, okay. And I don't know. I mean, it seems really obvious when I talk about it, but at the time, it was just such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
It took me 2-3 days to just kind of like shake off, you know. I still had the willies thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like that, what I was saying earlier about how the Holy Spirit just wants us to be willing to look at all these dark memories with him. And dreams are like dark memories. They're all just symbolic of these dark thoughts in our mind getting played out. So I noticed that sometimes when I would say, okay, Holy Spirit, right before I go to sleep, if I say, okay, I want to give my nighttime dreams over to you and over to this purpose. Those were the nights when I had horrible dreams. I would think it'd be the other way around. Like, okay, Holy Spirit, I'm going to give you my nighttime, and let's have some really beautiful healing dreams. And to him, like, okay, beautiful healing dreams. I'll show you some healing dreams. It won't be beautiful from your perspective, but it's beautiful to me that you're willing to look at all this horrible darkness, these crazy images of attack and death and murder and
you know, the I mean, all attack is self-attack, is essentially. But
yeah,
you know, it's like, okay, I'm willing to do my part. I'm ready to die in the dream. Nope, can't die. Well, now what do you want? You know?
Yeah,
It was wild. It was wild. So I don't know why, but I'm sharing that with you.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah, just the willingness to look. Astrid's raising her hand. Hi, Astrid.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell John that I have those dreams all the time. And I was laughing because those dreams about like murdering somebody in a dream and then having all these people trying to get you. I've had those several times, so I understand what he's going through. And for some reason, those dreams, because I've looked at them and I've analyzed them with the Holy Spirit, and I always feel in the dream, when I'm having the dream, that the people that I'm killing, there's this justification to it in the dream. It makes no sense and it's illogical, and I can't remember what the logic is, but I never feel like that guilt that you would think. I just feel fear, like fear of being captured and fear that they're not going to understand my reasoning for killing these people, that I have a justification for it. But I think that, I mean, the ego's gonna get into everything, right? Even you know, it comes into your dreams. And the other night I had this awful dream where I had my ring finger had been cut off, like this finger, and I didn't know why. I didn't know how it happened, and I was questioning it, and I was looking, I was asking people, but it seemed to be like a secret. Like I would have to go up to people and show them my hand and ask them, don't let anybody know, but do you know why this finger, like, I don't know what happened. And when I woke up, I was like, what the hell was that? And I asked the spirit, and the spirit said, because I have this ring on this finger that I had made that says, it's a symbol of my commitment to my awakening. And it says, it's been etched, it says, be passers-by. And that's what the ego went into my dream and cut my finger off and made me forget, like, what, I didn't even have the red. And then I woke up, and then I just, right there, I sent off and had one thicker one made with the same be passers-by. I'm like, no, I'm having this on my finger. You're not going to cut it off. So yeah, I mean, it's these dreams are really crazy, right? And I think that this sharing has been great, by the way. It's been like amazing. Like what you said about you can't screw it up. That is, like, I've had that experience, and it's so true. There's no way that we can screw it up, and I have tried. Like, I have consciously tried to push away. I mean, that door is open and I can't close it. And I have tried to do that. I have tried to push God, Holy Spirit, Jesus. I've cussed at them. I took the course book and he was present. I ripped it up. And let me tell you, it takes, like, at the beginning, it takes a lot of effort to rip that book up. You have to be really, really angry. And at some point, I'm like on the floor with my knee on it, and I'm like, this is gonna take forever. I'm not gonna be able to do this. But the thing is that whole process where I'm just cussing and I'm like, fuck this, and I can't deal with this, and I don't want to do this, and I hate this. You know, I had the presence, like Jesus was right here. He wasn't. There was no judgment. It was just like right there. And I'm like, you're not gonna go away. You're not gonna leave me. But it wasn't in desperation, like, get away from me. It was like, it was like a realization and a relief. Like, there's nothing that I can do supposedly bad. He's not gonna go away. He's gonna be there. And it's just this presence, non-judgment and love that we really can't screw it up. I want to say fuck it up, but screw it, we can't. So it doesn't matter, like, what was her name was sharing now about taking Laura? No, Laura, you know, you can't screw it up. Doesn't matter if you take the course, don't take, you know, you can't screw it up. Yeah. There's no wrong decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys are so beautiful.
Yeah, we're guiltless. We're totally guiltless. Maybe we can close with I love you.
Okay.
I think I know it now.
Follow my lead.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for your presence here. We're going to close with a song. Thank you, Janice. Yeah. So this is another one of Tamra's songs that I deeply love. And it's like a lullaby from spirit. It's like a lullaby, so you can just let this sink in, feel it. I love you. I know what you're going through. You don't have to try. I'm right here by your side. I know that you are scared. Give to me all your cares. You don't have to be in fear, be anxious, sad, or in despair, 'cause I love you. I love you. I love you. I know that you don't know how much I love you so. This dream you dream is not the truth. I've come here to awaken you. Wake up, my child, the time has come for you to know that we are one. You can relax your mind. Put your hands right into mine, 'cause I love you. I love you. I love you. I wish you could hear my voice and know that you have a choice. I have always had your heart. I've carried you right from the start, 'cause I love you. Love you. Love you. Come dance with me in the sun. Remember love and have some fun. Your holiness awaits you. Give up the lies and know the truth. Your heart is big, your mind is strong. Heaven is where you belong. Lay down the doubts. God's love is waiting here, and I love you. I love you. I love you. Yes, I love you. I love you. I love you.
That's all we have to remember. Thank you all so much for coming, and for joining in this beautiful purpose. I'm so grateful. Till we meet again.